Hello, team, and welcome to week 3 of the Gringo Olympics. This week, we're going to be playing a classic American game show called Jeopardy. Since I can remember, Jeopardy has been on television. When I was younger, it was with host Alex Trebek. He passed away a few years ago. Absolute legend. He worked until he hosted the show until I think like the day or the week before he passed away. But we have new hosts now. The game has not been abandoned. And we will also be talking about 3 little words that cause a lot of confusion for my students, which are in, on, and at. And if you are studying English, I can bet easily that you have had problems with these 3 words. So again, just like we mentioned with the 2 and the 4, your job this week is to take one step further. If you've never thought about in, on, and at, whatever you learn today is a win. If you have studied this before, your job is to find something new from what we're seeing to include in your information, your memory. So let's take a look at in, on, and at and play a little Jeopardy. So your warm-up was to check out this game. Many people are not familiar with Jeopardy. As far as I'm aware of, it is only it's only transmitted in the United States. I don't know, but your job is to prepare one Jeopardy style question for class. It's an easy way for you to practice with your study buddy. And this class's video is about Inside Out 2. It's a video, it's a movie coming out on Friday, and it's a good example of how to play. My question will be easier, do not worry. But did you notice the format of the answers? Why did I ask this? Because Jeopardy does a little bit of reverse engineering. The clues are given as a statement, and the answers are given as questions. So here, it's almost like the answer, even though we switch the order. The question is the answer, and the answer is the question. What is South Park? Right? And had you heard of Jeopardy before? Always practicing our past perfects. Have you played anything similar? Now, team, let's get to the juice, to the sauce of this class, in, on, and at. And what you might not know about me is that I have a second job. I'm an artist. Yes, I studied classic painting over in Florence, and this is my art. Of course, I am kidding. Well, this is about the last level of what I can do, but it is a good reference for in, on, and at, and I'm actually going to hold this paper right here so that I can use. And in, on, and at are known as the prepositions of time and of place. And today we are going to start with place, because I think it is the most linear, less exceptions. Start with in. Any time that you can say that you are inside something bigger, you should use in. And, I live in Brazil, in Minas Gerais, in Belo Horizonte, in the neighborhood, Luxembourg. Anything where I'm inside something bigger. Now, let's take a look at on. I live on Juvenal dos Santos. It is a street, but you're still going to have to ring a lot of doorbells. If you want to find me, there are a lot of apartments. There's a lot of buildings on this street. But as a reference, I want you to think of a line when you think of on. That's why we say you are on the beach, on the border, on Juvenal dos Santos. You could say that you're on the second floor. You can be just 2 apartments, but you don't know which one, still on. And the most precise, the most specific, we have at. So you can say that you live at this apartment. You live at 305 Juvenal dos Santos. So at, it's a specific point. On, we are on a line. And in, we are inside something bigger. So my recommendation, practice it. Where do you live? Where do you work? Can you use these different forms? And if you give the specific point, you do not need to say the on afterwards. For example, if I say I live at 105 Duane Street, I don't need to say I live at 105 on Duane Street. All right, it's first. Next up, we are going to be talking about time. And this time, I will start with on. O-N, and if you add the letter E, it becomes 1. Use this as a reference because on is a unit of 1 day. I can say that our class is on Mondays. I can say on Sunday, I have a race. I can say on June 23rd, this will happen. On June 23rd, 1973, this happened. So on we use for a unit of a day. And what is smaller than a day? A time. So anytime you will give a specific time, you are going to use at. So you can say our class is at 9. Doesn't even need to be a number. At lunch, I like to eat this. At bedtime, I read a book to Lise. So at a point. And last up, what's bigger than a day? Let's say it's a week. In the last week of the month, we have a meeting. In June, in 2024, in the 20s, the decade, in the age of Aquarius, if you are into astrology, but in anything bigger. And now, Mr. Andre, I know how much you like exceptions, but let's get into them because we have a bunch per time. First of all, start with on again. The weekends, I think you'll agree with me, they go by too fast. So even though we say on Saturday and on Sunday, we also say on the weekends. We count it as 1 day. Also, if you're going to talk about a point of a day, but you say like Monday or Tuesday, you will use on as well. On Monday afternoon, even though we're not talking about all of Monday, we say on Monday afternoon, on Sunday morning, on the morning of the 23rd, if we're talking about a day of the month, but on for a part of the day. Also, I know we said that in is for things that are bigger than a day, but we say in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. Again, I don't know why. I'm just a messenger. Don't kill me. But because people are crazy when they were developing English, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, but then we go back to at night. I do not know why. Now, we talked about place. We talked about time. And those are the easy ones. The problem comes from phrasal verbs. What is a phrasal verb? So we have a verb like get. Get, I got this bottle. But then all of a sudden, if I say get in, I'm talking about getting in a car. If I say get on, I can talk about getting on the bus. I can say that they're getting on, that they're becoming friends. I can say, what are you getting at? What's your point? And just by adding an in and on or at, all of a sudden get has 3, sometimes more different meanings. And these are the problems. And there is no one sentence I can say that will instantly help you understand all of them. But I do like to talk about the fundamentals, the why, the what's at the core of these words. And in this case, I'm going to start with in because I think it's the most logical. So within, we're talking about within a larger area or space. We can also talk about moving in, going inside of something. And I think it's usually the most linear. People seem to understand in. I will say the biggest problem I see with my students are they use on, some extra ons. And I don't know if it's because we have similar words in Portuguese, but I'll hear more ons than I should. But when you're in something, it usually makes sense. Break in. So they steal something from a store, they were outside, then they go in the store. Fill in. You have an open space, you fill it in. Drop in. When your in-laws appear without letting you know in your life. Now, I'm going to come back to on. I'm going to go right to at, because at I kind of think of as the opposite of in. If we use in to talk about inside something bigger, at, we are kind of shrinking it to a point. So I can say that I'm looking at my screen. It's a big screen, but I'm treating it like a point. If I pick up this pen and I throw it at the wall, it's a big wall, but I'm treating it like a point. So within, we're talking about inside something bigger. With at, we're taking something bigger and treating it like a point. And an example that I can think of, let's say that you work. Well, I'm going to start with work for Google. Would you say work at Google or would you say work in Google? Okay. Well, I guess the answer is kind of both. And while it's more normal to say work at Google, you kind of, at least here in Belo Horizonte, we have a Google, an office. So you work at Google. Okay, understood. So you're taking this idea of these Google, all of these employees all around the world, and you're treating it just like one company. I work at Google. But let's say that you don't do home office, that you actually have to go in there. You can say that you work in Google, inside their office. Or maybe you work at Google and then you're going to meet your spouse for lunch. And they arrive and say, where are you? I'm here at Google. And it's like, no, I'm in Google. I'm inside. So what really changes is just perception. Einstein would love it. He would say it's all relative. So when you say that you're in the office, I imagine the walls around you. If you say you're at your office, I just kind of imagine poof, that point, that idea. And so at, we kind of direct something to a point, and we kind of shrink it into one little point. So I point at, I'm pointing at the camera, I'm pointing at you. I know it's rude, but it's for example. You laugh at something. If you're laughing, that's in general, but you're laughing at a joke, at a person, hopefully not, right? Yell at, opposite one. Why did you do this? You are directing your yelling at this point, probably a person. And now we get to on, the big problem here. And on, I would say that it has 2.5 fundamental themes. And I'm going to start with the half. My Brazilians will all know this one. Where the book is, it is on something. And I think when we think of on, we think of on top. And it's not wrong. It's very common. But on has actually more to do with contact, close contact, than it does with being on top. If I turn this over, it'll fall. But if I take this, where is it? It's on the wall. Why we work on a team, and people that are in close contact with you. So on has a lot to do with contact in these phrasal connotations. And the other big meaning that I see a lot for on is continuous. You see on with a lot of INGs. Person kept going on, they kept talking. We even have the opposite. We have ongoing, something that is happening. And I like to think of kind of this active movement where something is happening. It is on. And so option one, it will have to do with close contact, or the second connotation, it will be something that is happening, something that is continuous. And let's take a look at some of the examples that I picked. To carry on, to continue, carry on with the speech, carry on with the game. Hold on, keep holding, continue holding, all right? Or if you're waiting, just keep waiting a little bit. To get on, usually for public transportation, we will actually talk about this curiosity in a couple of minutes, but to get on, or I've also heard people, they're getting on well, as if they're becoming friends. Okay. Team, I know it's a lot. I've included some more phrasal verbs. I think this is a great example of a class that benefits from some English subtitles. Usually I'm not a fan. People want to improve their listening, but then they turn on the subtitles, so they're improving their reading. But in on and at, they're so small, sometimes they come in one ear, they out the other. But when you see them on the screen, it's like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme. Oh, there's on right there. So this week you have been given the green light, the okay, to turn on those English subtitles, because I think they will be beneficial for this topic. Our game, Jeopardy. The official Jeopardy site has a lot of different questions you can use. This week for my students, of course, the theme is in, on, and at. The answers are at the bottom, but it's an easy game to play some English, which is something that I wish my students did more of. Instead of studying, play some English. And our talking point this week is balance. Friday is International Yoga Day. So besides some downward facing dogs, we can talk about other types of balance, the balance in our lives. And, is it necessary? Is it possible to maintain balance? Is balance overrated? Think of some things you balance in your life. How you balance routine and spontaneity. I like my routine, but I like my routine because I value the days where I kind of leave my routine. So, how do you balance them? Guys, how do you balance your English studies? Do you do a little bit of what you like with a little bit of what you need? What does a healthy work-life balance look like for you? Another hard one. Your companies and your business will tell you, work more, but your family will say, no, work less, work less. So what's the right answer? We need to find that balance. How about you? How does your work-life balance look like? And our expression of the week, to bend over backwards. We use this expression. I'm laughing just because I've forgotten the picture that I put here. But to bend over backwards means to do everything in your power to help somebody to resolve a problem. We often use it when we're at our limits. I'm bending over backwards here. Help me out. But one thing that I've enjoyed over the last few months are these YouTube yoga videos. And if you already do yoga, this might be easy for you, but it might be a good way for you to practice English. And if you just need to get up off your chair and stretch out a little bit, it's again a good recommendation. I picked one, but from what I've seen, there's a lot of different styles and teachers. So find the one that works for you. I cannot go there. Those are the answers. But team, that's it. Thank you. Like always, I hope to see you in class. And next week, we will be back with our finals of the Gringo Olympics. Thank you again.